Yeah, it's so copper is the metal of the future. It has been the metal of the past, but it's also the metal of the future. If you see the demand for copper is just has one direction, it's going up because everything which is decarbonization, which is electrification in the end, means it needs more copper for handling electricity. So we see in e-mobility 3 times more copper in a car than in a conventional car. You see
Really?
digital, you see renewable energies, and so on. So copper is really the perfect metal for the renewable energy sector. And we as Aurubis, we are the largest producer of copper in Europe. We produce about 1.1 million tons of copper cathodes. And the major product that we supply is starter stock for the cable industry.
Okay.
And cables are everywhere. What works today without electric cables and electric supply, if it's digitalization or even energy supply? So we have a very positive business environment already today, and I'm very bullish about the future, combined also with the circular economy, the recycling part, where we're also leading with our technology. So all good for Aurubis.
Well, thinking about the mining industry particularly, because they have highlighted how vulnerable some of the supply can potentially be, some of that related to some geopolitical issues, also different public protests that forced one of the biggest copper mines to actually close briefly in the last month or two because of that. But how does that, do you think, does that impact the outlook for what that means for the demand globally for copper? Or is that something that's more idiosyncratic?
There is a lot of copper, and the advantage of copper is there are many different mines. So even if the big one, if you take this case in Panama, where we probably refer to, even this mine has just a small percentage of the global supply. So there's not the dependency of the industry and of Aurubis from one single mine, which means we are diversified, also for technical reasons, and hence we have alternatives really easy to switch on, and we can compensate for any shortfalls. And it's quite typical if you look in the copper industry that there are some issues with mines. That's like in large industrial installation, you always have challenges. So therefore, in the projections for the supply and demand for copper concentrates to the smelter industry, there is always a certain disclaimer of mines which have some disruption, some technical problems, some whatever problems. And if this is factored in, you see that the copper concentrate market is balanced. That means what the smelters need is being supplied by the mining industry. So we have enough supply and good quality supply for the way forward.
Talk to us about you're based in Hamburg, Germany. Most of your business, it's a global business, but talk to us about the investment you're making, have made, continue to make here in the U.S. and Georgia.
Yeah. So the investment in Georgia is a big step for us to bring this technology of a large recycling plant of multi-metal recycling materials into the US market. We're doing this in Europe, and the investment in Georgia is part of our $1.7 billion investment package. And in Georgia alone, we are investing about 750 million euros. We are investing in strengthening our core business, which is multi-metal production, recycling and producing multi-metals, all the industrial metals and precious metals, and also growing. The second pillar is growing in recycling, where this investment in US is the big part of. And the third thing is sustainability and decarbonization. So investing in renewable energy, investing in solar-powered energy, electricity generation, and also improving our environmental footprint even further. So these are the 3 pillars, and US is a very important part of our investment package going forward. And it's the first step that we are going here to do in Augusta as we talk.
So many economists, as you know, came into last year so gloomy about the trajectory of where U.S. economic growth would be, as well as globally. But when you look at the direction of copper prices, what do you think this tells us about the global economy and how healthy it is right now?
Yeah. So if you think about, you mentioned this Dr. Copper, I think there is a lot of talk now, where is the copper price going to be? What we need as an industry and as an economy, we need more supply of copper. It has to come from recycling, where we have a major play, but also it has to come from additional mining activities around the world. There is enough copper in the world, and the question is at which incentive level, at which pricing level, investors are going to spend money to build up quite high investment cases for new mining activities. So I don't predict any metal prices going forward. I can't just be wrong, but the demand is there, and the demand will grow in the coming years by millions of tons, which means there is a good incentive also for a good rationale for higher copper prices going forward.
What are the top 2 or 3 kind of customers you have for your company? Just give us a sense of who your customers are.
So the major customers that we have are the cable manufacturers. So we are converting the copper that we produce mainly into the starter stock for the cable industry, which is called wire rod. It's a standardized 8mm copper wire, and companies like the Prismians, like the Kofi Cups, like the Leonis, they are our major customers for these materials. And then they make all kind of cables for all kind of installations out of those.
What are you hearing from your customers right now as far as when it comes to demand?
It's really interesting. We see an increasing demand from our customers. So this electrification, this decarbonization drives our industry, our customers, and hence also us. And we have a first quarter. Our fiscal year starts in the 1st of October. So we have, from a demand point, a good quarter behind us. And we have some very good quarters ahead of us, given the contracts and the discussions that we have with customers. So our customers, our cable manufacturers, again, that's the major part, they are bullish about the demand going forward, and they secure capacities for the future.
Do you have business in China?
No.
No business in China.
No business in China.
Because that's atypical for a German company. I know one of the reasons people are concerned about the German economy overall is that they do a lot of business with China, and the growth just isn't there. What are some of the other areas of the world that you're investing capital right now?
So we are investing in Europe, which is our home turf, as we have started there 156 years ago, our business in Hamburg. So we are investing massively in Europe, which is the major part of our 1.7, and then the US. These are the two focus markets, the two focus regions we are investing now. But we are not excluding anything.
Why is that for Europe and the US versus not China?
Because we know, first of all, it's markets that we know where we have our base and where we can grow from. And we have very stable conditions and also positive outlooks in both regions. That's why we are focused, and you have to put it in perspective. Aurubis is not a giant, it's not a big company. We have to put a focus. So to invest 1.7 billion in growth for our company is a big step, it's a big commitment, and we have to deliver. So we make this promise, and we're going to live on this promise. And then I don't exclude any other regions at the world at this point in time, but in the moment we have to focus on the US and on Europe.
Right, and does that also part of why China's been tightening its grip on copper? Is that part of the reason why it's just harder to try to invest, to your point, in that area?
For China, copper is also a very important metal. If you see, they rate copper as one of the indicators of progress. And they have invested strategically and driven by the government over many, many years now into the copper production. And China today represents 45% of the primary copper, of the smelting capacity in the world, and they continue to expand. Yet, given this high local capacity, China is still an importer of copper, of the metal, not just concentrate of the metal itself. So the economy in China is huge, and also with their major focus on renewable energies and also on electric vehicles, their demand is going to continue to rise, but they will continue also to invest in their industry. So that's where they stand.